Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Maqbool with you at BTV World. In today's show, we're going to take a look at the current dynamics of the country in light of the upcoming general elections, especially with regards to what is going on in terms of various political parties and the courts of Pakistan that have been involved in a number of cases that have directly impacted the parties and, of course, the elections. We're going to be taking a look at what the party, the PTI, that has been at the center stage of a number of developments, is currently going through. Reports are coming in of internal rifts between the party. We've also seen that there has been a lot of concern that has been shared publicly as well with regards to the senior vice president by certain leaders of the BTI who have claimed that he does not hold any party position, something to which he has responded with publicly as well earlier today, claiming that he's calling off his campaign in Sindh and leaving it in the middle and letting it be with the other leaders of the party, namely spokesman Rauf Hassan and advocate Hamid Khan, that they take care of it and they resolve it, and it is only until the former PTI chairman comes in between that he's going to continue. However, hours later we saw that he had called it on again, saying that the workers of the party are right and that he's going to continue and let the internal rifts be decided amongst the leaders. And so we're going to be taking a look at exactly what this means, given the fact that PTI has previously also repeatedly denied any reports of internal rifts within the party, and this is coming in at a time where the party is already dealing with a number of issues, most of which is also centered around the party unable to go ahead and contest the elections with its bat symbol after the Supreme Court's verdict over the weekend. And so a number of course, issues are still taking place with regards to the party, and so reports of internal rifts between the parties is another one. At the same time, we see that in the aftermath of the decision by the Supreme Court, the PTI had responded with criticism of the court, saying that they are responsible for taking away the level playing field of the party by taking away its bat symbol, something of course that the courts have clarified repeatedly in terms of the jurisdiction of the ECP and the fact that the intra-party polls were never really conducted, nor evidence of that was actually given by the party despite repeated calls by the ECP. And so with the PTI failing to prove its case, the decision was earlier announced. However, we saw that there has been a social media campaign that has been launched against the judges of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, to which a number of people, including various bar associations, have responded with, resulting now in the formation of a 6-member JIT that has been led by the FIA additional DG. And so this is going to be something that is going to be important in terms of determining who it is behind the social media campaign and what it is that is going to be the outcome of such an inquiry, which is supposed to provide its result within 14 days. So we're going to be taking a look at what this means, especially with regards to the way that the credibility of the courts has been established and how exactly has that been influenced by party reactions, a number of which of course have also been stemming in from the PTI, which earlier would claim that the courts are ruling justly when the decision was in their favor, and then of course criticizing them when it's not. So we're going to be taking a look at all of this in terms of what is going on, especially with regards to elections so very close in the country and what it is going to be the future of political parties such as the PTI. For this and more, as always in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal. We've also been joined online by political analyst Dr. Niaz Murtaza. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of the discussion. Dr. Niaz, let me start with you. Amid all of the crises that we see that PTI has been going through, of course, in terms of also their electoral symbol, which is a major blow to the party, we also now are seeing reports of internal rifts, which perhaps is also weakening the way that the party is being looked at its core. Do you think that the reports of rifts within the party are real and substantial in terms of the leadership within the party, and that the claims that are being made by senior party leaders with regards to positions such as the SVPs is something that is worth some concern?
Well, I mean, if you look at, what the party has been made to go through in the last, few months with, all its top leaders thrown in jail, forced to leave the party, many going underground, all kind of cases against them. So, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if, there are some divisions, some cracks. Even the best of organization would wilt under this kind of a pressure. But I mean, from my point of view, I think the party has really, still shown a lot of resilience in terms of, surviving, still showing, a lot of, fight back. And from what you hear in, polls and, media opinions. It still has been able to retain its popularity. If you look at, PMLN, there are a lot of, divisions there as well, despite the fact that all its leadership is intact, its top leader is back after 4 years, but, you still see people grumbling about tickets and all. So if there is anything to be worried about, I would worry more about, the divisions in PMLN. Why does it have, so many divisions? Despite being intact, and what kind of government is it going to be, be able to provide with all these kind of divisions? And it seems like the stage is being set for it, and we will have a PMLN government, most probably. So that is more worrying to me. But coming back to PTI, I think the biggest thing is the shocking decision about the party symbol being taken away, which makes no sense. Because the Election Commission of Pakistan is an administrative body which, on matters of party elections, just acts as a post office. Parties are supposed to send it, certificates that they have done their elections. If they don't submit that certificate, then yeah, 215 article kicks in, and Election Commission of Pakistan can take away their party symbols. But for the ECP to question whether your elections were held fairly or not, that's out of its domain. There's not a single law clause anywhere in the Election Commission of Pakistan which empowers the Election Commission to look into the fact whether the elections that were held were fair or not. Now, obviously, commonsensically, you would want a party to hold elections fairly, but it's so important to remember that Election Commission of Pakistan or even courts cannot directly act on moral or political concerns or political bads unless and until those political bads have specific laws in some form or the other for those institutions to act upon. And you can go through the Election Commission Act of Pakistan. There's not a single law which empowers, the Election Commission of Pakistan. Even if it's, a matter of dispute of national elections, the Election Commission of Pakistan is just an administrative body. It has to set up election tribunals headed by judges of high court who can look into the judicial side of it, the legal side of it. So on what capacity can the election commission say that the elections were fair or not? And then even if you take away the symbol of a party, that doesn't automatically mean that it can be barred from elections. It should just mean that its symbol should not appear on the ballot, but officially the candidates of the party should still be recognized as official candidates of the party on whom the party discipline clauses should apply if they win. So all in all, I think it's a very shocking state of affairs, the things that have happened over the last 2-3 days.
Right.
Dr. Niaz, the same point, I mean, which you have highlighted just now, that the party's existence should always be there. And of course, it is there, and its leaders are appearing in the elections. In that context, one of the statements which actually came from Salman Akram Raja Saab, in which he has said that the special seats for allocated seats for the women and obviously the minorities, if somehow all of these candidates, they are able to win the seats in throughout the country, then later on in the phase of getting into parliament, they will be allocated the same number of the seats which PTI should have been allocated in terms of its badge symbol.
And Dr. Niaz, you mentioned earlier with regards to the owners of the party also presenting a certificate as evidence of the party's elections. And I want to understand then, in light of the development that has taken place within Supreme Court and the way that the PTI has fought their case, do you think that they also lacked the ability to prove this to the courts, that they in fact did hold intra-party polls?
Well, they just have to give a certificate, and they did give a certificate. It's not the Election Commission of Pakistan to go behind the certificate and try to see whether, the elections were authentic or not. If this was desired, there would be a whole chapter within the Election Commission of Pakistan entitled Party Polls and how to scrutinize them. detailed law. If you look at how the national election disputes are to be adjudicated, there's like tons and tons of sub clauses. This has to be done, this has to be done. It can't be just left to the discretion of the Election Commission of Pakistan how it does it. And again, as I said, it's an administrative body, not a judicial body. Coming to Faisal's question, the question of reserve seats will come later. The first thing is how its candidates are going to be treated, and from what it seems, they are going to be treated as independents, which means that the clauses about party loyalty will not apply to them, and they'll be free to join any party that they want or remain independent. So if they choose to go to another party or remain independent, then how will their votes count towards the tally of PTI when it comes to the issue of reserve seats? So first thing is to decide why are they being asked to run as independents. The party has not been barred. There's no clause in the Election Commission of Pakistan which says that if the party doesn't hold elections, then it will be barred from the election. It just says that a party symbol will be taken away. Then fine, don't use the party symbol. On the election ballot, you can put its name that this is a PTI candidate. Just put its flag, but recognize them as official PTI candidates, so that after the elections, if they win, the clauses about party loyalty apply to them, and they are not able to jump ship and go to some other party. There will be all kind of pressures that will be applied to them from where, like it happened in 2018.
You gave a very intriguing suggestion that the party's flag or name should be present on the ballot paper. Can you actually qualify that through law? Is there a law to actually permit that?
Is there a law which says that the party candidates will run as independent?
No.
There is no such law.
No, that wasn't my question. My question is that whether the party's name instead of their symbol can appear on a ballot paper. Is there any law provision that allows this?
I've gone through the Election Act of Pakistan. I Googled, there is a search option even in these PDF documents, and I put in ballot paper, there were 165 entries there, and I went through one by one, and there isn't a single place which says that on the election ballot only the party symbol can appear. It's silent on that matter. So it's just a matter of norm. I can't see a law. But even if there is a law, the bigger issue is whether there is any law which says that the party will be banned from elections and its candidates will have to appear as independents. That's a more important issue. Even if they can't put the flag or its name, as long as they treat them as official party candidates, then those candidates will be bound by the party loyalty clauses, and that's the important thing, so that they can't be poached by pressures from the powerful quarters, as has happened in previous elections.
So this is important, especially with regards to the chances of success of the party, of course, in the upcoming elections. But they have, in the aftermath of the Supreme Court's verdict, talked about fighting and contesting the elections as independent candidates. And so we're going to be taking a look at exactly how that is going to impact. Why is it then that this option that you're pointing out has not been exercised, and what can be the possible legal avenue of that? But I'll come back to this after a short break, and we'll continue our discussion. Welcome back to the debate. We're talking about the current political dynamics in light of the upcoming elections. The country, we're just talking about the importance of the electoral symbol and what options does the party Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf have in terms of the decision by the Supreme Court taking away its bad symbol. And Dr. Niaz, we talked about how the PTI had decided to move ahead and contest elections as independent candidates. And I want to understand why then, if this option is available, as you're saying, or may be available in terms of whatever legal avenues mechanisms exist within the Election Act. Can this possibly be something that the party can actually take up? And what of the matter when we talk about the importance of electoral symbols that has been raised by various political parties, that a large number of the rural population identifies with the electoral symbol and has a much lower literacy rate? Can they move ahead with the same kind of success rate without the electoral symbol than with it?
Well, the electoral symbols we have, because of what you pointed out, the illiteracy fact that it's easier for, people to remember an iconic symbol, especially for these bigger parties, the way, the sword or, the arrow is, tied with PPP and the bat is tied to, PTI. So it's very easy to for people to remember. But then I don't see any law which says that if a party's symbol has been taken away, it cannot officially even be recognized. Okay, I mean, if you find a law which says that the flag or the name can't be put, okay, then just leave it blank. But at least officially in the records of Election Commission of Pakistan, they should be recognized as official candidates of PTI who will later be, held responsible, accountable for, following the clauses about party loyalty. Now, of course, even if they have to face this hindrance, PTI is very good at communication. I mean, it's as bad on governance as PPP and PMLN, but on communication, on social media, and those kind of things, it's very strong. So, they're already developing a system online where, people can, search for the symbols for each of their candidates. So that will be, I think a smaller problem. The main problem is that, whether the party loyalty clauses will apply or not. And, that's the biggest risk that, if they win, say, 60, 70 seats, despite all the efforts to, cut them to size, then, there'll be 60, 70 extremely vulnerable MNAs who will, face a lot of pressure, inducements, threats, carrots, take everything to, switch sides. Some of them may even disappear. So, that is the biggest challenge, and then the reserve seats will come later. So, I don't know. I mean, it seems that, PTI is resigned to the fact that they have to, go in as independents. I've been following social media, Twitter, to see what their lawyers are saying, but I haven't seen any movement. I haven't seen any, statement in the media that they're planning to, have something else. They talk about Plan C, but it's basically about, I think the social media stuff.
Right, absolutely. And Faisal, when we take a look at this dynamic, of course, as Dr. Niaz was saying, this was an iconic symbol and it was attached to the party. At the same time, of course, it seems that the PTI is going ahead and contesting elections as independent candidates. And I want to understand then, given the fact that we keep on hearing from the party leaders previously and now as well that they have a lot of following and that there is a lot of voter base that they're counting on, how much impact will then those followers who already are associated with the party or their party workers and leaders at different constituencies will then have to face with regards to the symbol? Can this not be made up for in terms of the way that the party is going to be contesting and putting forward the leaders from different constituencies? Can they not be marketed in the same way as they've done before?
I think, on this symbol crisis which we are seeing brewing within the party, of course, PTI, its candidates, I think the biggest challenge for the candidates is that there are lots of independent candidates, and of course, one of the independent candidates that would be having, affiliation or support of the party. But what is happening is that in different constituencies, urban constituencies as well as the rural constituency, what is being seen is that almost every independent candidate is trying to, because knowing the fact that PTI has the vote bank in every constituency, they are trying to campaign in a way in which they are portraying as if after winning the seat they are going to give it to the PTI. So that is where the problem actually is arising for the party. It is an alarming situation for party, as well, because party hurriedly should be going towards one decision, and that is that the list of the candidates, the independent candidates, should be coming out as soon as possible for throughout the country, where they whoever they are in support, or whoever they are supporting in that constituency, they should be declaring it at once. But once again, as PTI relies a lot on social mediums, then I am fearing that in coming days we will be seeing fake lists as well appearing, in which fake names would be appearing for different constituencies. People would be claiming that this is the right list and that is not the right list, and I have the right list, and that's how the things would be moving on ground, and in which of course the vote bank of PTI would be extremely confused where to put the votes, whether which of the candidates is the right candidate. So it is a chaos on ground, and I think that is why they have been they have been fearing this fact that after losing their symbol, the bat, it would be a crisis within the voters of the party. And to be very fair, the kind of campaign PTI has been doing since almost more than a year, their campaign was very successful. But when it comes to, of course, losing the symbol bat in Pakistan, in a country like Pakistan, I agree with Dr. Niaz fully, and that in a country like Pakistan, where a huge number of voters, though we have 67% of the voters is the youth which we are looking at, but of course the remaining voter, a large number of that is illiterate. They can't read. Only thing they can go for is a symbol, and that symbol, the message needs to be conveyed to a voter about what the actual symbol is. And if that message is confusing message or is not delivered properly to the voter, then of course there is a crisis, and in that crisis I see the voters, confused voters, and I see PTI as a party which would be losing the ground.
Right, and Farrukh, in light of what we're discussing, especially with regards to the bat symbol, it seems that a lot of the kind of impact that the PTI would have to face is being talked about with reference to losing the bat symbol. And while that may be substantial, I want to understand whether or not that, regardless of the bat symbol being taken away, is the PTI also a strong party at the moment in terms of the kind of reports that we are hearing in terms of the kind of court cases that are going on, in terms of what people are saying are mistakes by the party in the way that they have acted responsibly or irresponsibly with regards to the intra-party polls, other decisions with regards to their campaigns and the chairmanship, and then of course the kind of court case that we saw. And now today, today with the way that the SVP also took to social media, first calling off the campaign and then restarting it again. Is this pointing towards a party that is substantial on its own also and is strong enough that can all the blame then just be brought down to the fact that they don't have the bat symbol, or are there other problems?
Right, Sana, thank you very much for the question. It is a very relevant question, but I want to, with your permission, also set the record straight. Earlier it was said by Dr. Saab, I think, that there is no constitutional provision, there is no law which allows or enables Election Commission of Pakistan to audit an election. Now, there have been two developments you have seen, right? One, this idea that ECP is merely an administrative body, it is not a legal body. There were questions regarding its jurisdiction in the past as well, where high courts and Supreme Courts actually said that it is a quasi judicial body. It does not have the final legal authority, but it does have powers within the law. But then, of course, this verdict came by the ECP. And if you read this paragraph 7 of that, they actually highlight the laws that are there, particularly the section 201 of Election Act 2017, in which it is mandatory for a political party to have a constitution. and constitution, and its details are also given. Whether it is called constitution or anything else, that is okay. But essentially a constitution which is binding on the party. Then that decision in the last para actually goes to the constitution of PTI. And in that constitution it highlights how that constitution itself was violated. Now, saying that there is no law which allows the election commission to actually do or check this, of course, a statement was given to election commission, but that statement then was also challenged by Akbar as Babar and other people. And after that, of course, it has gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court actually held the entire proceeding before our eyes. And if you were watching it, repeatedly the lawyers of PTI were asked to submit some kind of a receipts, some kind of paper trail, or some kind of other minutes to prove that there was an election, and they totally failed in it. Now I understand that there is a meta narrative in Pakistan which sees everything through the lens of black or white. So that can be done, of course, but with due respect, when there is a law, when there is a clear interpretation of law, and then this is also actually contested in the court of law, then I was saying that the court should have created something else does not, at least I don't get it. My humble submission is that again the party is not banned, the symbol has been taken, but go to the ECP's website and PTI as a party is still mentioned there. Now I understand that loyalty clauses that Dr. Saab was talking about might apply if the people are actually contesting as independents. But frankly, when you actually go for candidature, you have to fill in the form, and there you actually have to actually disclose your party loyalty and especially ticket and all that. After that, even if you get elected without a symbol, the party loyalty will be binding on you. And all these things are matter of record. You can just go and open all these verdicts, all these websites, and you can see it for yourself. Now this whole idea, and I'm sorry, I think that perhaps my learned colleagues here in the program are must have actually gone through elections. I actually tailored an election campaign in 2002 and successful campaign, and since then I've been part of the electoral process of the country. I've been monitoring, I've been writing reports and evaluating it for various international bodies. My humble submission is perhaps this whole idea, this notion of that people are so ignorant that on the election night they are going to, election day they are going to be just confused, is not right. One, this is not how elections take place. Usually before election, there is an entire campaign where people go from door to door, and they of course carry some kind of weight of identity of parties' support. And without that, they cannot actually claim that they are this party or that party. And people, unfortunately, while we keep on saying that people are illiterate, I don't know why we say it, 66% of this country are educated, at least literate. But even then, if you think it is nominal, even then the fact remains, Sana, that before the election, and PTI is perhaps the best communicator when it comes to electoral campaigning. Their people are so organized, they have their social media, they have other campaign methods which are very effective. To think that people are just going to show up on the election day and be poor Johnnies are going to be confused, I'm sorry, it makes no sense. When you go to election, when you go for voting, there are counters for every candidate and they guide you, Sana, and they guide you where to go, what to do, which symbol to vote for. I'm sorry, if we want to actually live in this fantasy world where everything is going wrong, it is a choice, and I respect that choice. But frankly, my humble submission is this is not how elections take place.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that Faisal Sahib, will you allow me to actually finish, or do you have any
No, go on.
Okay, my humble submission, I keep on asking, since repeatedly the question was being asked, PTI was being asked to hold these elections, and given that neither its former chairman, nor its former secretary general, nor other senior officials are in party anymore. I mean, chairman is behind the bars and he is disqualified, former chairman, but Asad Umar, other people have left the party. So why is it, I think it makes perfect sense that the party should hold elections. But the question is, why is it that a party which calls itself the largest party, and I don't have any measure to gauge it, whether it is the largest party or not, but why is it that they are not holding elections? Why actually trying to pull a fast one when it comes to this whole process? And yesterday and today we got answers. Marwat and Gaur Khan, their disagreements we have seen. Then Imran Ismail's statement regarding what Shah Mahmood Qureshi was doing and what these statements from Shah Mahmood Qureshi attributed to Shah Mahmood Qureshi, all of them actually tell you that it is a party in disarray because nobody is united. The dominant elements were not ready to risk it to hold the elections. So if that happens, the result will be like this. But I don't believe that on the election day a party is totally disenfranchised and it is not going to have any kind of success on the election day. Right. Your question, whether it is strong or not, we still have to wait and see when the campaign starts, when the elections take place.
Yeah,
right,
so now, just
Niaz,
the one-liner.
One second, Faisal. Dr. Niaz, I would like to respond to that, please, with reference to what you've said earlier, and also add to that whether or not, given today's developments, the party would have to deal with more workers, perhaps not being sure where they're going to be aligned.
Well, I think, you have to look at where, its strength lies. So obviously, KP is its strength. It has, a very good network there, right down to the grassroots level. Karachi is its strength. Things like, information sharing will be very easy in Karachi. Even in Punjab, it's, more popular in the urban areas and then it among the youth. So again, that is not the big issue for me. The big issue for me is how its candidates are going to be treated. If they're treated as independent, then the clauses about loyalty will not apply to them, and then they will be susceptible to poaching, to threats, etc. That is the main issue for me. The other issue is Farrukh mentioned about the Supreme Court giving this verdict, but there's also an 11-member. This was just a 3-member bench. There was an 11-member bench in Benazir Bhutto's case back in 1988, and it had explicitly mentioned that party elections, etc., even if they are held or not held, that's immaterial. That's not the job of Election Commission of Pakistan. That is an internal party matter, and no party should be deprived of it. In this case, the situation is that the party has held elections twice within the last 2-3 months, but the Election Commission is refusing to accept them, and it has no authority to reject elections like that. Farrukh mentioned somebody going and making a complaint. There's no provision for that in the Election Act of Pakistan, that somebody can go and make a complaint to the Commission of Pakistan. It would be treated as a civil matter. They can go and do a civil case because it's a private political party. They have a complaint against it. Go to a civil court and sort it out. So there's a lot of issues here, and then the broader issues that you just steal the mandate of a party so close to elections. It's never happened in Pakistan. This broader democratic question about the impact on the national elections is much more important than the issue of elections within a party. So it's a very strange decision in my opinion, but that's how it is. So let's see what happens and how it deals with it.
Sana, with your permission, I wanted to just respond to Benazir Bhutto case because that is a watershed judgment, no doubt about that. But again, Constitution is a living document. That means it is amended and laws are made. Now, the problem is that that verdict actually came in 1988. And after that, there have been many laws, there have been many amendments. 18th Amendment was not even thought of at that time. Similarly, this 2017 election law, that was created afterwards. So right now you have to actually look at the laws that were in the field. And this is exactly what happened when during this Supreme Court proceeding, Benazir Bhutto, citation actually came, and at that time it was also actually responded in the same manner, because law keeps on changing. With due respect, 2017 law allows people to actually go and challenge verdicts, right? Challenge statements, declarations, and all those disclosures that are there. So this is a form of disclosure, and it was challenged. That's it.
All right. Yes, Faisal, you want to add something?
No, I think it was clear. It's not important.
All right. Dr. Niaz, there's also, of course, a discussion with regards to the Supreme Court and the kind of campaign that is being lodged against the Supreme Court's judges. This, of course, has happened in the aftermath of the verdict that the Supreme Court has given with regards to the PTI. And I want to understand then that whenever we talk about criticism of what has come out from the courts, it seems that it's stemming in from the losing party. Again, these are the same courts that earlier were criticized of favoring a PTI, and now the PTIs are criticizing this matter as well. We know that the JIT has been formed to investigate this further, but how is it then that we're able to take a look at this issue in light of the fact that the courts are dragged into a lot of these developments and political decisions, and then also with regards to how this smear campaigns are affecting the credibility of the institution in itself?
Well, of course, we can criticize verdicts, but we shouldn't, make personal attacks on judges. That's very clear. And, we should focus on the merits of the case, and that's what I've been doing. Yes, Benazir case was in 1988, but there's no new law made about, ECP, looking at party elections. But a lot of it is coming from the fact that there have been two back-to-back verdicts which are quite shocking for the legal fraternity. The one on the military courts, and now this one, and both of them favor certain forces. So some people are making comments on that. But again, we must respect, the judges, and, just focus on, the verdicts themselves, and there's plenty to criticize the verdicts about.
Right, but that's also something that seems is blurred in terms of what is okay and what is not, what is allowed and what is not in terms of the criticism of the courts and the judges. I understand that there is no need to get personal, but in terms of the way that the court's decisions or actions are criticized, there have been times before as well that the court itself is accused of partiality, and we've seen that in the previous case of the Chief Justice of Pakistan as well, and a lot of times previously as well we've seen that contempt cases also are risen from criticisms that come from various quarters. So how do we distinguish between what is accepted and what is not?
Well, I think people should exercise their own restraint, but then I'm also not in favor of, this JIT being formed and, people being, harassed on social media, their social media statements being checked. If somebody feels insulted, they should go to a civil court and challenge it there. I wouldn't want, very, draconian actions taken where people are just thrown into jail because they insulted that institution or this institution. That is all part of, free speech. But at a personal level, I believe in, respecting judges and not, making too many, abusive, comments on them. But it's all coming from the fact that there are two very strange verdicts back to back, both benefiting the same institution. So some people have started talking about, but I would focus on, the verdicts and the merits, and there's plenty to, criticize the merits. There's strong evidence to, criticize both verdicts.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Niaz Murtaza, for joining us and being part of the discussion. Faisal, the blame would technically, in a lot of ways, in terms of a lot of reports, is going to go to the PTI. Do you think that would be fair to say?
Yeah, but not only one single party, but overall, I would say that under no circumstances the Supreme House of Justice should not be hurled criticism like this.
All right. Farrukh, the way that we see that previously also we've talked about how the PTI is a very strong communicator and how they have had the social media as their strong asset. We've seen previously also that there were campaigns that were linked to the PTI workers with regards to criticism against the military establishment also. Given that we're this close to the elections, whatever the JIT actually comes out, do you think that it would further impact the party if it's deemed responsible?
Right, Sana, and this is a very important question, and it actually takes us back to what you asked Dr. Niaz Murtaza, how to actually tell the difference between genuine or criticism of the verdict and casting aspersions on the personal life of honorable judges. So here's the humble submission. You must have seen what has been going on. There were hashtags that were trending that used abusive language. And then, various kind of aspersions were cast, which was tantamount to character assassination, not talking about any kind of methods. I understand that PTI has 3 layers of social media communication. One is official, one, of course, they usually don't employ or deploy them for their, such purposes. But then there are 2 others. One, that there are people who are associated with it, but are within the country. So they eventually also do not cross those limits. But then there is a third one, the expatriate community, where Pakistan's laws don't apply. So we have seen this, lynching, public social media lynching of various leaders. And if you just remember, when Imran Khan was disqualified at that time also, there was, because there was a verdict in London, there was a jalsa where somebody was actually using slippers on their pictures of those judges. And those images come back to Pakistan and then they are spread. And then what happens is that people's families are named, their children are named, they're doxxed, and then they are actually threatened also on social media. So I think whosoever is responsible, and I mean any party that does that, should be held accountable. I think not party, actually the people who are doing it, no matter which party they belong to, they should be held accountable. The legitimate criticism is there. People do it. The moment any judgment is passed, it becomes public property and you can criticize it. You can, in certain circumstances, even question the motivation. But with due respect, this kind of wholesale abuse, threatening, and the kind of language that was used, Sana, that is horrible.
Right. Thank you very much, Farrukh, and thank you, Faisal, for joining us. That's all we have from the debate. We'll now see you tomorrow.